Welcome back into another episode of Tribal Council Chat. As always, we are your hosts. My name is Bruce Heller,
Parnell?
and we have a really fun episode for you guys today. It's one we've been waiting to record for a few weeks now, and the Survivor for on this day of recording, the Survivor 45 cast was finally released today. We had another episode planned in case it wasn't released, but it finally was. So we get to do an episode we've been wanting to do with you guys for.
Yeah. We'll get to some that at some point in time, but Bruce, finally, Tribal Council Chat gets to podcast during a real season.
I know, it's great. I'm so excited for this season and this episode. You sent me the little Entertainment Weekly cast bios this morning of the questionnaires, and those were awesome. And then on Facebook, I saw the videos, and I was watching those right before we started recording. And I'm even more excited now after watching the videos. So this is an awesome season.
That it is. So basically, what we're going to do for this episode, we're going to go through each tribe, take a few minutes to. We'll break it up one tribe by tribe. We don't know the names yet, so we'll just say red, yellow, and blue. You can all look up what that is online if you want to see exactly where everyone's divided.
And
But
we
we'll
can
go
post
and
a
talk
picture on
about
our socials also.
Yeah, exactly. We will do that. And then essentially we're just gonna go over what our initial reactions for this cast because it looks great.
Yeah.
Bruce, do you wanna kick it off with red? I know you said that's the tribe you're looking most forward to so far.
Sort of, yeah. So I buy starting with Winners at War. I've been buying myself just a singular buff each season and sort of building a collection that way. Because if you try to go buy buffs from past seasons on eBay, it'll drain your bank account, apparently. The buff market's just ridiculous. And I texted Brett and just said, I'm probably going to buy the red one this year, partially because the people on there look awesome, but the color itself is awesome. I can wear it with any of my Cardinals gear. And the first name that stuck out to me was D, and I liked her from the written questionnaire and also the bio video. With these questionnaires, though, the first thing I was looking at on each player is what previous player they compared themselves to. And she said Jesse, which kind of excites me. Well, she first off said Jesse because she likes him and the reason he plays are the exact same, playing for family. And then also says she feels like she's going to play the game like Tony. And so I just feel like that's going to be a really interesting combination. I really liked Jesse and his strategicness, and just based on the video, D seems like she's going to be really cool, pretty fiery. So
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I wrote down some notes for her. At first, when I read that, like Jesse and then Tony comparison, I'm like, someone really is about to overrate her strategic game.
yeah,
But when you get into Dee's bio and I see that like she was born in Cuba and came to the States as a kid and opened a business at 23 and therefore has that is a CrossFit um enthusiast. So it's like she has that strategic side behind her work. She has that social side with customer interaction. She has that physical side. She really is perfect for this game.
yeah.
So we'll see how it plays out with her as a threat or whether she goes very far. But I think we're going to see one of those two take hold.
And with the questionnaire interview, like I mentioned, the first question I looked at is always what previous player you compare yourself to. Another one I was looking at occasionally was what you look for in an alliance partner. And I'm going to read her answer here. It's someone who sticks to their word. In a game where deceit is inevitable, staying true to their word will get us further along. No one gets to the end by themselves anyway. And also someone who is having fun. We're all stuck together on an island. Why not have fun? That's a great way of looking at it.
It is. And This is just hitting me as you read that. I mean, sticking to your word, getting to the end. Nobody gets to the end as by themselves. Who's here to have fun? Are you already thinking what I'm thinking? Like the challenge 41 could be right up her alley.
Yeah, maybe. But also the saying somebody who sticks true to their word, then following it up with "This is a game where deceit is inevitable" is just really funny to me. I think
That is.
there's basically opposite things there, but let me see. Also, one thing this is kind of going off D a little bit, but just talking about funny lines is Jay Maya in her video said, people always say in these videos, she goes, people always say in these videos, I'm not here to make friends. But why not? I'd like to make some friends. And I actually chuckled out loud when I heard that because that would probably be me out there. Like, I'm down for
Yeah.
friends, always. That made me
I mean,
chuckle.
it's perfect to bring that up because D was someone I wanted to talk about in this segment, and Jay Maya was next on my list.
Oh, nice. So let's get
And
to that.
yeah, so we can shift over there. I mean, what an interesting story. I don't think I've ever heard of somebody who turned down Harvard Law School in order to gamble on their career in the music industry.
I know. That's
But,
crazy.
and decided to move from San Fran to LA instead and become a singer and songwriter. So it'll be really interesting. What I wrote down with her is when I read that background is I'm like, she's gonna play a shot in the dark. She's gonna go looking for idols. I
Yeah.
think she's the risk taker of the season based on what she's done in the past and made it work.
Well, and for previous players she compares herself to, the first name she mentions is Parvati. So yeah, gonna be flashy, looking for idols, and out there. And also mention
Um,
Marianne. So the
yeah, I
Parvati
wrote that down too because two very contrasting winners.
in one sense, yes, but what I get from this is they both have very bubbly, smiley personalities a lot of the time. So I'm kind of expecting that to be Jay Maya a little bit, just because this is like the one thing your two players have in common is this bubbly
Yeah,
smiliness. So that's kind of what I'm expecting coming out of the gate from her. But she's gonna be really fun, I think.
yeah, absolutely. The next player on my list was Julie in this spot. And I found her in this tribe really interesting because she wants to work with intelligent people and describes herself as more like Suri. But she had so much energy in that video that I wrote down Suri with a Carolyn side.
Yeah, for sure.
And I almost wonder with her, is she going to find the right allies or could she just push people the wrong way early and
It'll
maybe
be
be a bit too selective?
it'll be one of those two. I'm not sure how much of a middle ground there will be. And then with Julie, what do you value in an alliance partner? Like D, the first thing she mentions is truth, which I feel like, I mean, that's going to be almost everyone's for an alliance partner. But this is also a game where truth becomes really hard to stand by sometimes and to keep as your strategy. Truth, hard work, loyalty, and strength are what she was looking for in an alliance partner. So, I mean, she knows the type of person she wants to work with going in. So that'll be easy. You're not having to try to figure out who you want to work with or what you value. Once you're out there, you already know going in.
Absolutely. Um, any names you have next, or do you want me to keep going?
Nicholas was one that stood out to me. He seems really fun in his video. And then also
Yes.
his hometown and residence, he has listed as O'Fallon, Illinois, which is not that far out of St. Louis. So that was really cool for
Oh,
me.
nice.
But I mean, the three words to describe him on the questionnaire, he put outgoing, loving, and empowering. And then you just watch the energy he has in the video, and it's, yeah, you pick that up immediately, especially the outgoing. It's infectious. He seems like a really fun guy to be around. He's going to be fun to have on our TVs. And for the player he compared himself to, he did say Tony, which, I mean, anytime people mention these all-time greats, it kind of makes me wonder, like, are you overrating yourself or not? But I do kind of get that crazy Tony energy watching his video, that he's just kind of everywhere. And so
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm excited to see Nicholas.
Yeah, I agree. The next name I had here was Austin, who I think is going to be a very interesting character on this season. Um, from Chicago. He seems to be, I wrote down like the comedian of the season, possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe
He compared himself to
he,
Owen.
he
So
compared himself to Owen. I almost wonder if maybe like based on his reactions, like he says that he values laughter in an alliance. Owen's a good pick. I think maybe that's a bit recent. I almost think that he could be like the Fabio.
yeah, true. I could see him being Fabio. But I like his answers. Like laughter being something you look for in alliance. Like that's me. And then him describing
So I mean, biggest inspiration in life, he said Naruto. I had to look that up, but could this be the first castaway to pick a fictional character as their inspiration in life?
I don't know. He might be. It's Naruto's an anime show, I'm pretty sure, isn't it?
I have no idea, but I when I looked it up, it seemed to be, so probably yes.
Yeah, so that'd be hilarious. But good for him. And then
Good for him.
describing himself as ambitious, sweet, and clumsy just made me smile. Cause I mean that's me sometimes. I'm pretty clumsy, so.
And I mean, him saying that he's gonna play most like Jay and Wendell, and then says he has a crush on Michelle. That was hilarious.
That's amazing. I love that so much. Really leaning into the people he's emulating his game after for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, any last bits before this tribe before we move into yellow?
Nope.
Okay. So let's move in to the yellow tribe now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, where do you want to start with this tribe?
Popping up through interview after interview after interview was Brandon.
Yeah.
So I thought I would start there. He right away, interestingly, seems to be well liked by the other players, despite the fact that the other players are not clearly interacting with him as per the rules of pre-gaming.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, but
he's clearly making the right impressions on people.
Yeah,
I would say so far.
And the player he compared himself to, or who he wants to play like, is Mike White. So,
I mean, for somebody that's getting this reaction from the other players, that's just perfect.
Yeah.
And because Mike was the same when he stepped onto the beach in David versus Goliath.
Yeah.
He might have had the advantage that people recognized him from School of Rock and from Amazing Race.
And what he says here is Mike White played one of the most impressive Survivor games ever, balancing his insane social savviness while just oozing likability. And that likability, like you said, that's what we get from Brandon's video so far. So, and of course, we're basing this off of like a minute-long video, so we don't have a ton to go off of yet. But based on what we have seen, I can see this going well.
At the same time, just so the audience knows, if you're new to Survivor or anything, generally at this point of the season, that's about what we do get. And then as the season goes on, we'll start to have a bigger character profile as we go through each episode, going into the merge when we really get to know these people.
So yeah, we'll for sure get to know these people better. We just don't have a ton. Like what we're working with right now isn't everything we'll have. Is what I meant.
I also thought it was interesting though that it seemed like there was, if I went through the other people on the cast, it seemed like there was a lot of like smarter people, gamer types on this cast, and then he says that he hates tabletop gaming and would rather get a root canal than play Settlers of Catan.
That's
So
hilarious.
I, as a person who is a great Settlers of Catan player, didn't necessarily like that comment, but I almost wonder if maybe he might really well, but could just not fit in with certain people, and maybe that could be his downfall in this game.
What's really funny about that Settlers of Catan comment is that I don't remember who, but someone else in their questionnaire said that they like love like nerdy board games and strategy games and stuff. So,
I have that written down somewhere. I'll find it in my notes.
but like total opposite ends of the spectrum here. It's just great. And so,
Anyway, who have you picked out on this tribe that you want to talk about?
so one of the names that stuck out to me on yellow was Hannah because, and this is from the video. She says she's a therapist, then comes out and says, "I don't want to play like the last two therapists on this show," which were Ellie on 43 and then Tori on 42. And she makes a good point. She goes, "A lot of people in my line of work come out here and they think, oh, I'm a therapist. I'll be able to read people, but
Yeah,
I'm not. I'm not counseling. I'm not working while I'm out here, so I'm not going to be able."
and the people that you're playing with didn't consent to go to become a patient either, and probably don't want to be treated in that way.
Yeah, and I thought Ellie was great TV in 43, and I liked Tori okay also, but I think Hannah's coming at this with a smart perspective of just because reading people is what I do at my job doesn't mean it'll be that easy out here. I'm not working. I'm not. This isn't the same thing.
Exactly.
So I'm excited to see her.
I mean, you had to be drawn to Hannah, seeing that she says that she's going to play like Kelly Wentworth.
Yeah, she said she wanted to play like Kelly Wentworth and Aubrey Bracco, which must be an fan of the Edge of Extinction the season, but should be interesting. What she looks for in an alliance partner, someone I can tell is being authentic with me and be able to have fun with. So it's not just
Yeah.
nonstop intense. That's great. It's
She says that her accomplishment she's most proud of is being sober when she was 20 years old. So clearly she has some sort of very interesting story of how she overcame that struggle as a very young woman.
yeah,
And that could be very interesting to hear as she develops her character profile going later into the game.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, I'm excited to see her play. And so what is
Next, the next name on my list that I wrote down was Caleb, who obviously I have to bring up, Vancouver, BC. Oh, Canada.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
We finally are back after Erica and Marianne bringing the money and the title up north across the border. So, and I guess Kane last season as well. Um, but no, I found his story to be really interesting. That I like players that are travelers. Why I'm drawn to Michelle early to Sydney, but I mean, he didn't. At first I read it as visited 27 countries, and I'm like, okay, I'm a few ahead of you. Then I read, no, wait, he lived in 27 countries. That is
Oh,
crazy.
that's insane.
And now he says, jokingly in his bio, he says, and Fiji's number 28.
That's fair, honestly. I'd accept it.
Yeah.
Something that made
Oh,
me
absolutely.
something that makes me laugh was Caleb, and I have my phone with the list of questionnaires right off screen, so I've been scrolling through this the whole time. Is
Do I?
for why do you want to be part of Survivor? The last sentence of his little paragraph, he goes, and also 1 million US dollars goes even further in Canada. And just that made me chuckle for some reason.
Just so you all know out there in the audience, yes, it does.
Oh, I believe it does. It just made me chuckle.
In Canadian dollars, that would be about 1.34 million.
Oh wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And then something I like, because I mentioned earlier that I'm not like, it always makes me hesitant when people, for like who you compare yourself to, and it's one of these all-time greats. His answer to what previous player you identify with, he goes, I'd love to say Tony, but out of respect, I won't. So he's clearly a fan,
Love that. I wrote that right down.
student of the game, knows Tony's an all-time great, doesn't want to compare himself to that. So like this
Yeah.
is somebody that knows the game really well, is what I take out of that answer.
Yeah. And how I was mentioning him being around the world, he says what's his inspiration in life is his dad, which is an interesting answer. But reading, like, he's clearly not the only one in his family. He says his dad was in prison in Somalia, has a university degree in Russia. Like,
Wow.
his family's been everywhere.
Yeah.
And then seeing, like, why he'll be the sole survivor. Caleb says that he lied about his age at 13 so he could get a job saying he was 16. Like, this guy is
That's
committed to
awesome.
what he wants to do and isn't going to let people stop him.
One thing that stuck out to me was with Caleb is the question, what will you value in an alliance partner? And he said, someone who can the first thing he says is someone who can control their emotions and someone who has relationships and can gather information from other members of the tribe so we can build the most complete picture possible. That's great. He knows what his strengths are and how he wants to play, and he knows what type of player he needs next to him to be able to pull off his game plan. And he needs
Yeah.
someone that's good with that social game and can help put the picture together so then he can look at it strategically and be like, here's what we need to do. And also he knows that having somebody that has a hard
Oh,
time
exactly.
their emotions in check would also be a struggle. Like you don't being able to keep your emotions in check is huge, and he knows that coming in. So that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So the last name I had here to bring up was Emily, who I found interesting because she seems to quickly, as we saw in her interview, pick up on similarities between people and really bond off that. So I wonder, like, how this is going to work for her in terms of actually bonding with people if she ends up on a tribe, both with people that she's picked up things in common with. But what if she doesn't? And will she be able to open up to new people and new learn new differences? I also found it interesting that she said her personality is similar to Chaos Cass.
Yeah, that stuck out to me too.
Because
I remember
I'm not sure how what she means by that, but how that would play out would be very interesting.
it can't be a bad thing TV wise. Like there's no way her being like Cass will make for bad or boring television.
No.
It's funny that you meant as soon as you said the name, I've been scrolling trying to find it, but I was thinking, is she the one that said she was like Cass? Because that stuck out to me when I was like going through this earlier. So that is awesome. I recently finished rewatching Kagion, and so yeah, there's no way like her being like Cass will make for bad television. I'm excited to see what she means by that.
Same.
But
I didn't think anyone would use that comparison, but it's gonna be interesting.
I'm
I mean,
looking forward
hopefully
to it.
she knows what she's talking about and we get entertainment value.
Something that stuck out to me is for the what's one life experience you feel has prepared you for the game? This is just something that was impressive to me. She said when she was 18, she moved to Shanghai to be a part of the inaugural class of the first joint Sino-American University in China. That's
Wow.
awesome. I'm accustomed to working with and competing against people with many different backgrounds and life experiences, and that's huge for a game like this. When
Yeah,
you're
that
just
is
now
huge.
meeting
So I guess
people.
that might go against my initial reaction, and maybe she will find ways to fit in with people even if they aren't exactly like her.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the cast is. Similarity.
Well, I have a feeling it might almost come down to the bottom, which I found interesting here at the bottom of the list. She says why she'll be the sole survivor, that she lacks traditional qualities as a survivor player. She's out of shape, doesn't like the outdoors, and people find her off putting, which is why they'll never see her coming.
Yeah, but if people
I mean,
find
that seems like a class answer.
that does seem like a cast answer, but also if people find you off-putting, they might want to take you out quickly so they don't have to deal with you. So,
I mean, like the most recent player that I can think of that people really found off putting was like Reem, and we saw what happened.
yeah. But also Judd, last week we talked about Guatemala. Judd made it pretty far and he was kind of annoying. So, Coach
That's
made it
true.
really far in token chains, and I mean, he's coach. So, and it doesn't necessarily mean you will go home early. I just wouldn't advertise that you're off putting.
No, absolutely. So let's get into the Blue Tribe for our final segment before we do Ally Blindside First Boot. And I mean, I think we have to start here with Bruce, a player we've seen before and is now back.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just gonna start by saying that I've been playing Survivor Fantasy for quite a few seasons now, dating back to when it was at war. Um, I had Bruce and Claire on my team, so last year
Ooh.
was my worst performance of all
Yeah.
time. But I really think that if Bruce clearly, if I go through what he says, he does know the game. He is
Oh
fit
yeah.
for the game. I mean, who knows what happened in that challenge? We didn't really get to see it, but it looks like it was just a complete malfunction where something went wrong
Yeah.
and he was out. We've seen that happen to many people who can still be good players.
And something that stuck out to me is for the player he compares himself to, it's a winner. It's somebody that I really like that is I'm pretty sure is in my top 10 favorite winners, and that's Jeremy Collins. And he says that Jeremy's values and sense of family mirror his. I mean, you can't watch an episode of 29 or 31 or probably even 40 and see any airtime with Jeremy where he doesn't mention his kids or his wife. So that's really cool.
Exactly.
I enjoy seeing that a lot. I like Jeremy's gameplay, and Jeremy's really good at the game. So if Bruce is trying to emulate that, we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because we saw so little of him on 44 that I almost feel it's like he is the 18th brand new player. I mean, he's a returning player, but he spent what 6 hours on that island. So we really don't know anything about him strategically. We just
yeah.
know Bruce being injured.
He's basically a new player. I think of him as one.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I'm excited to get to see Bruce actually. Hopefully, he doesn't get hurt on day one for a second season in a row. That'd be awful.
Yeah,
But
please, Bruce, don't join Francesca.
gosh, who thought we'd get a Francesca reference in this episode? That's great. Oh. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see him. For why he'll be sole survivor, he just says because this is my time, which is funny. It's short and to the point. Um,
Any names sticking out to you on this tribe?
yeah, the
I
big
have a couple.
the big one that stuck out to me was Kelly,
Yeah, absolutely.
because she talks about not only being a nurse, but being a nurse during COVID and during coronavirus. Which, I mean, nursing already seems like it'd be really difficult, but during that time frame specifically.
I found that comment interesting because my thought kind of went into it both ways. It's a very difficult job, certainly, especially at the time, and the fact that she's from New York. Also, though, I'm hoping for her sake in the game that she doesn't bring up the past 3 years over and over and over again, because socially that might not be the best move. I think we as a society have kind of want to move past that as much as possible.
And it's a topic that it gets kind of divisive and people have very differing opinions on. But
Exactly.
I think the nurses specifically aren't one of those things that people have differing opinions on. I think if she just mentioned I
Absolutely.
was a COVID nurse, that would act in her favor. People would respect that.
Definitely.
For
The other thing I found interesting is she seems to be very well connected to the community already.
yeah.
Um, Jeff put out the cast on his podcast today, and Natalie Anderson commented at Kelly's profile, "Yay,
Oh,
let's
that's
go," or
awesome.
something.
That's awesome. I
She
didn't know
went
that.
to she went to the Taylor Swift Eras tour with Parvati Shallow.
Oh, that's her.
Uh,
Okay. I remember seeing
yeah,
that show.
that's her. I mean, she's in the community, so I'm like, that could mean she goes very far. At the same time, Claire was so engaged in the community that that's why I picked her as my winner pick, and it didn't work out only one season ago.
Yeah.
So who knows? I hate to be making too many Claire references. Big fan. Hope she comes back someday. But
I think the thing with Claire was her tribe just ended up going to tribal pre-merge, and pre-merge are trying to
yeah,
keep your tribe strong and good in challenges so you don't have to keep going to tribal. And when the same person is constantly sitting out, that puts a target on you. So,
right.
and that's probably not all her choosing to do that. They probably sat her out a few times, but that
Oh,
didn't
I'm sure.
help her case at all.
But no, we'll see what happens. But Kelly, of all the people playing, seems to be the most into Survivor. I'm sure when week number 2, when it's in New York City, her home, she'll probably be like one of the unannounced people at Bryson When Presents.
Oh yeah, probably.
Um, one last name I want to bring up before we jump into Allied Blindside first. I know we're running out of time. Exact pronunciation. Um, the name that I had was Tula.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
I
it
had.
is. Excuse me if I pronounced that wrong. I found her really interesting. Right away, she reminds me of Chanel. I think she's going to be a very strong woman
Yeah,
going into the show. The one thing that I found interesting is that she said that people that maybe she might have liked in a different day later, but she said that she was a very like energy person. And I wrote down two names that aren't in her interview, but that I just picked up from a famous scene back from one of my favorite seasons, and that's Michelle and Ty.
yeah. I could.
And I was wondering that I was like, we'll see if she's able to if she plays. I'm like, which side of this of those two players is she going to play more like? Is she going to play more like Michelle? And yes, she might have her initial reactions, but get to know people and build social bonds. Or is she going to play more like Ty and decide X, Y, or Z is going home and shut them out? And then next thing you know, it's her that's on the bottom and not them.
Yeah, and real quick, because we have to get into a blindside first boot. The two players she compares herself to in the questionnaire, she says Natalie and Spencer for their never quit attitudes. I think I'll have a mixture of Natalie's determination with a tiny bit of Rob's manipulative leadership, but not overboard. Which Natalie? It doesn't specify here, and I'm so confused because it could
I'm
be
assuming Anderson, but
it
who knows?
Anderson or White were both what came to my mind, but Anderson was my assumption. But yeah, I'm excited to see her. And it has not for residents, but for hometown has St. Louis listed, so that's awesome.
Okay, so let's jump into our final segment. We're running out of time, so we won't bother. Let's just say who we'd ally blindside first boot, not bother describing our reasons. We can do that on socials and
Yeah,
have a good discussion about it. But do you want to start or do you want me to?
you go. You, yeah, you go. You say the names.
Sounds good. So I'm gonna go with one player from each tribe in this situation, and the names I'm giving you are Then Hannah and Kelly.
Say those again because you cut in and out a little bit.
Austin, Hannah, Kelly.
Oh, that's hard, but I'm gonna first boot Austin, I think, because the other two are both two of my favorites. And I think I'm gonna align with Kelly and blindside Hannah, but I could go either way on those two. I love both of them. I did the same thing.
Nice.
So for you, you are getting D, Caleb, and Brando, because Brando said he's excited for Survivor style pizza. So
Interesting, because most people say it's crap. That's hilarious.
St. Louis style
Um,
pizza is the best, by the way. Quick derailment, but go ahead.
I am gonna obviously ally with Caleb. Oh, Canada.
Yeah.
I am gonna blindside Brando if he says Survivor style pizza. I mean, that's that means that he has a sense of humor. He won't be a bitter jerk. And therefore I'm gonna first boot D. She's too good.
Yeah,
You have a few minutes. Go ahead with your reasoning because I screwed up.
I'm excited to see D. Probably she's the one I'm most excited to see, but this whole cast is going to be awesome.
Your reasons for my three players.
Oh, my reasons for your players. Oh, I kind of didn't got into that a little bit, but Kelly's I'm really excited to see her. She seems very social. And
Yeah.
so, and Hannah, like I said, really smart, being able to know I can't come in here and try to be like the therapists on the show that think they can read everyone. And then just Austin first boot because I like the other two better so far.
Sounds good. Well, that was an amazing episode. Can't wait to talk about every episode this season with you and with our audience.
I'm excited.
Let's torches and head back to camp.
See you next week, guys.